You said sign artists, get D-Lo popping.
We did talk about, and I said sign some artists, but come on, some artists with some something. I
You
ain't
have
even seen the
okay.
YouTube video. I tried to Google it.
Hey, Rasheeda! What you mean? What's up?
What do you mean? What I mean? How do you get around Mama D? What y'all mean
That's
that?
none of your business.
You know her reputation with.
Rasheeda's life had taken a devastating turn, leaving her overwhelmed and struggling to cope with the emotional storm surrounding her. Kirk's old sex tapes had resurfaced in a shocking leak orchestrated by Karlie Redd, causing an explosion of reactions across social media. Suddenly, Rasheeda was at the center of a public spectacle, with people taking sides. Some sympathized with her, but others reveled in the chaos or mocked her pain, amplifying her heartbreak. It felt as though her world was falling apart, and she was drowning in the turmoil. She sat on her bed, her phone buzzing relentlessly with notifications. Each sound was a cruel reminder of the chaos unfolding outside her home. Tears streamed down her face as she tried to process the betrayal. This wasn't just about the tapes. This was about trust being shattered. Those private moments meant to stay between her and Kirk had been laid bare for the world to judge. She felt stripped of her dignity and control, as if her life no longer belonged to her. The weight of the humiliation was suffocating, and it seemed impossible to escape. What kind of friend would do this? Rasheeda cried out, her voice trembling with raw emotion. It wasn't just an angry outburst, but a desperate plea for understanding. Karlie had been someone she considered a friend, someone she thought she could trust. Family and close friends rushed to her side, offering their support and trying to console her. But their words couldn't touch the deep ache inside her. The pain was too overwhelming, and she felt trapped in a haze of disbelief and sorrow. "I fought for you," she whispered through her tears, her voice heavy with hurt. She had stood by Kirk through countless challenges, defending him against rumors and criticism. She had believed in him, trusted him, and now this betrayal cut her deeper than she could have imagined. The tapes weren't just embarrassing remnants of the past. They were vivid reminders of moments that should have remained sacred. That intimacy was now being mocked and dissected by strangers, leaving her feeling exposed and vulnerable. And to make it worse, Karlie's role in the leak intensified the sting of betrayal. How could someone she had once called a friend be so cruel? As Rasheeda sat there, her emotions churned in a storm of anger, sadness, and disbelief. She felt torn between her love for Kirk and her need to protect herself from more pain. The betrayal had shaken her trust to its core, making her question everything she thought she knew. How was she supposed to face the world after this? It was as if her life was crumbling, piece by piece, and there was nothing she could do to stop it. Despite the heartbreak, she wasn't entirely alone. Friends surrounded her, offering words of encouragement. "You're stronger than this," they told her, their voices gentle but firm. They reminded her of her resilience and the strength she had shown in the past, but their reassurance barely registered. Rasheeda was lost in her thoughts, consumed by doubt. Could she ever forgive Kirk? Was this the moment where everything ended for good? The possibility of a future without him was terrifying, yet the thought of staying felt equally unbearable. "Shamshi Simi eats bat." One point, Rasheeda confronted Kirk directly, her emotions raw and unfiltered. "Kirk," she began, her voice shaking, "I need you to be honest with me. I've been hearing things about you and my mom." Her words hung heavily in the air, and Kirk's face went pale. For a moment, he seemed genuinely confused. "What are you talking about, Rasheeda? You know I'd never—" "Don't lie to me," she interrupted, her voice rising with anger. "You can't keep denying this. I've seen the proof. How could you betray me like this? How could you betray us?" Her voice broke, the pain evident in every word. This wasn't just a conversation, it was a confrontation she never thought she'd have to endure. She had loved him, trusted him, and now she was standing before him, demanding answers that she knew might shatter her completely. Kirk stumbled over his words, clearly unprepared for the confrontation. "It's not what you think. Your mom and I... It's not like that," he stammered, but Rasheeda wasn't buying it. "Not like that?" she shot back, her voice a mixture of disbelief and fury. "You were supposed to be my partner, the one person I could count on. And now this? You've been sneaking around with my own mother? Do you have any idea what this has done to me?" Her words hit him like a slap, and he looked down, unable to meet her gaze. The room was thick with tension, the silence between them louder than any argument. Rasheeda could feel her heart breaking all over again, but she refused to let herself crumble in front of him. This was her moment to demand the truth, to reclaim some sense of control over her life. As the confrontation unfolded, Rasheeda began to realize that this was about more than just Kirk or Karlie. It was about her own sense of self-worth, her need to stand up for herself, and her desire to find peace amid the chaos. She didn't know what the future held, but one thing was certain. She couldn't keep living in the shadow of betrayal. The road ahead would be difficult, but Rasheeda knew she had to find her own strength, even if it meant walking away from the people who had hurt her the most. The tension in the room felt unbearable, like it was about to erupt at any moment. Rasheeda stood with her arms crossed, her piercing gaze locked on Kirk, silently demanding an explanation. He fidgeted, his eyes darting everywhere except at her, clearly searching for a way to escape the mess he'd caused. Finally, breaking the silence, he mumbled, "Look, I made a mistake. It didn't mean anything." Rasheeda's voice cut through, the air sharp and filled with disbelief. "Didn't mean anything? Do you honestly think that makes it better? This isn't just some careless fling. It's my mother. You didn't just betray me, you betrayed my family." Kirk stepped closer, desperation etched across his face. "Rasheeda, please," he begged, his voice trembling. "I can fix this. We can fix this. Just let me explain." Rasheeda's voice, trembling with the weight of her emotions, replied, "Explain what? What could you possibly say to make this right? You made a choice to hurt me in the most unimaginable way. You didn't just cross a line, you obliterated it." The room grew eerily silent, the kind of silence that presses against your chest and makes it hard to breathe. Rasheeda refused to cry in front of him, even though the pain inside her felt unbearable. She wouldn't let him see her break. She thought about the love they once shared, now shattered by his actions. "Your decisions have consequences, Kirk," she said, her voice steady despite the heartbreak written all over her face. "I deserve more than this. I deserve loyalty and respect, especially from my husband. You've broken my trust in a way I never thought possible." Kirk's expression was filled with regret, but his words came slowly, as if dragged out of him. "I never wanted to hurt you," he murmured. "It just happened. I was weak and I didn't think." Rasheeda let out a bitter laugh, her voice heavy with sarcasm. "Didn't think? That's your excuse? You're not some impulsive teenager. You're a grown man who should have known better. This wasn't a mistake. It was a choice, a deliberate decision to betray me." She turned away, needing space to process the hurricane of emotions inside her. The weight of betrayal, anger, and heartbreak threatened to overwhelm her, but she fought to stay composed. "I can't even look at you right now," she said softly, her voice breaking slightly. "You've done something that can't be undone." As she reached for the door, Kirk grabbed her wrist. His voice was urgent, pleading. "Rasheeda, please don't go. I love you." The words hung in the air like a challenge. Rasheeda felt a flood of emotions: anger, sadness, and disbelief. "Love?" she repeated, her voice thick with irony. "What you did isn't love. Love doesn't betray. Love doesn't destroy families. How am I supposed to trust you again?" Her eyes welled up with tears as she gently pulled her arm from his grasp. Her voice softened but remained firm. "I need time to think," she said. "You've broken everything we built. I don't know if I can ever look at you the same way again." As she stepped outside into the cold night air, the chill hit her like a wake-up call. It grounded her, giving her a moment of clarity amidst the chaos. She felt torn, lost in the pain, but also free from the lies. Behind her, Kirk stood in the doorway, his face a mix of regret and despair. He was left to grapple with the consequences of his choices, realizing he might have destroyed the one thing he couldn't afford to lose. Kirk was left to pick up the pieces of his life. He paced back and forth, frustration boiling over. "She's gone, and I don't know what to do," he muttered to Jessica, a close friend who had been listening quietly. Jessica looked at him with a mixture of concern and skepticism. "What are you doing to fix this?" she asked. Kirk sighed, running a hand through his hair. "I'm taking steps to make things right. I've started legal proceedings to address the accusations against me. People are saying I'm hiding assets, but the truth is, I've been wronged too. I'm fighting to clear my name." Jessica nodded thoughtfully. "But how are you dealing with the public backlash? Your reputation is at stake." Kirk took a deep breath, his exhaustion showing. "The pressure is intense, but I can't let it break me. This isn't just about my reputation, it's about justice. I want people to see the truth and know I'm not sitting idly by." Jessica's gaze softened.